Sign here for your specialized baby.
I've been waiting 9 months.
Okay.
What is transhumanism?
Is that building a human?
Trans what?
Humanism.
Transhumanism? Yeah. I have no idea.
I don't know.
Transhumanism is like transgenders.
It's like when you can like pick certain genetics and like make people possibly better than what they would be without genetically changing their DNA. That doesn't make sense.
Only 3 out of 15 people know what transhumanism is. Transhumanism is the belief that science and technology can lead to create a better and more evolved human race. This can mean medical breakthroughs related to curing diseases before a child is even born, or maybe technology used to do things faster and more efficient. Also relating to the more inconceivable notion of making a child smarter, stronger, and better looking. Transhumanism can take one of 2 forms: strong transhumanism or weak transhumanism. Both strong and weak transhumanists sponsor using technology to enhance humanity. Strong transhumanists, however, differ in arguing that we should use technology to become a new species. Beginning of the concept transhumanism is thought to start in 1601 when a man named Francis Bacon expressed his interest in using science to achieve mastery over nature in order to improve the living condition of human beings. More was added to this theory in 1859 with the publication of Darwin's Origin of Species, which stated, as we are now, humans are just at the beginning of evolution. Then, later changing our genetics manually was first questioned in 1923 by the British biochemist J.B.S. Halden. He argued that great benefits would come from controlling and modifying our own genetics. The word transhumanism appears to have been first used by Julian Huxley when he describes the process of transcending the body. The World Transhumanist Association was founded in early 1998 by Nick Bostrom and David Pierce to provide a general organizational basis for all transhumanist groups and interests across the political spectrum. What did transhumanism bring about? Julian Slavetsky has argued for a principle of procreatic beneficence, according to which prospective parents should select the child of the possible children they could have who would have the best life, based on the relevant and available information. For instance, if a couple is having IVF and must select one of the 2 embryos, which is genetically identical except that one of them has a defective gene that predisposes to asthma, then procreative beneficence suggests that they ought to choose the healthy embryo for implantation. Ethner Udskowski, an independent scholar, has probed the ethics of superintelligence and has tried to develop a theory of how to program a human-friendly artificial intelligence, a challenge that could take on life and death significance once we become capable of creating such a machine. Would you perform transhumanism?
It's because I think that they are unique for the way that they came, and God made them that way for a reason. And if you do all that, then they really technically don't even have your genes.
But what if they were going to die young?
If they were going to die young,
That's God's will.
that's God's will, so I wouldn't do it.
Why transhumanism? Technologies that aid to help fight and cure disease have advanced to such a point that it is inevitable that transhumanism will likely be the future. These technologies are referred to as emerging and speculative and include nanotechnology, nanomedicine, biotechnology, genetic engineering, stem cell cloning, and transgenesis, for example. Other technologies that could extend and expand human capabilities outside physiology include artificial intelligence, artificial general intelligence, robotics, and brain-computer integration, which form the domain of bionics, uploading, and could be used for developing whole-body prosthetics. Transhumanism is not destroying any part of the human person, rather it is enhancing the human form to the best of its abilities. Altering the human person is not normal. The world's view of what normal is has not kept up with the advances in technology that has become our reality. The world's consensus on what is normal includes a person's lifespan, physiology, appearance, and intelligence level. Anyone outside of this range would be considered abnormal. In the case of this argument, anyone with shortcomings or diseases would already be considered abnormal, as would someone with enhanced abilities. Medications. Every day, people take medications to help aid their body and improve their way of life. From extreme cases such as cochlear implants, prosthetic limbs, and transplants, to something just as simple as glasses, Advil, or Benadryl. Our medical technology in the past has already advanced to the point of medications and life-enhancing procedures, and in that time, there were skeptics. Just as our medical technology continues to advance and transhumanism looks to be in our near future, there are also skeptics. Questions to think about. Many people use the argument that transhumanism is altering God's will. Who is to say that God isn't acting through the scientists to help create these revolutionary technologies? If you knew your child was going to have a degenerative heart disease, could you really say that you would not want to reverse this for your child to live a normal, healthy life? How many technologies can you think of today that aid the human person and are accepted?
Yes,
Why?
because I don't want my daughter to grow up with problems that are preventable.
How far would you go? Like, would you change their hair color or just stop at, like,
just
disease?
like diseases and such.
In order to find out more about the transhumanist movement, we found an organization called Humanity Plus, and this is their mission statement. Humanity stands to be profoundly affected by science and technology in the future. We envision the possibility of broadening human potential by overcoming aging, cognitive shortcomings, and voluntary suffering in our confinement to planet Earth. We believe that humanity's potential is still mostly unrealized. There are possible scenarios that lead to wonderful and exceedingly worthwhile enhanced human conditions. We recognize that humanity faces serious risk, especially from the misuse of new technologies. There are possible realistic scenarios that lead to the loss of most or even all of what we hold valuable. Some of these scenarios are drastic, others are subtle. Although all progress is change, not all change is progress. Research efforts need to be invested into understanding these prospects. We need to carefully deliberate how best to reduce risk and expedite beneficial applications. We also need forums where people can constructively discuss what should be done and a social order where responsible decisions can be implemented. Reduction of existential risk and development of means for the preservation of life and health. The alleviation of grave suffering and the improvement of human foresight and wisdom should be pursued as urgent priorities and heavily funded. Policymaking ought to be guided by a responsible and inclusive moral vision, taking seriously both opportunities and risk, respecting autonomy and individual rights, and showing solidarity with and concern for the interest and dignity of all people around the globe. We must also consider our moral responsibilities towards generations that will exist in the future. We advocate for the well-being of all sentients, including humans and non-human animals, and any future artificial intellects, modified life forms, or other intelligences to which technological and scientific advance may give rise. We favor allowing individuals wide personal choice over how they enable their lives. This includes use of techniques that may be developed to assist memory, concentration, and mental energy, life extension therapies, reproductive choice technologies, cryonics procedures, and many other possible human modification and enhancement technologies.
Arguments against transhumanism. Francis Fukuyama, a political scientist, wrote his article on transhumanism. He gives two main arguments against transhumanism. The first is that our right to equality requires that there is a fundamental human essence that goes beyond sex, class, or race. This means that all members of society are granted the right of equality. In a sense, the post-human that transhumanists advocate the conception of equality by changing the fundamental human essence. The second argument against transhumanism is that it seems to glide over the two-sided nature of human characteristics. Our good characteristics, Fukuyama says, are intimately connected to our bad ones. What is seen as a negative trait in one person could be a positive one in another. For example, people may consider violence and aggression a negative characteristic, but it is useful when we need to defend ourselves. The biggest risk is that we do not really know how closely these characteristics are intertwined. Transhumanists take it upon themselves to determine what is good or bad in a human. We do not know the results of intervening with our biology in such a way. Consequence feared by some skeptics is that transhumanism will lead to the existence of two types of humans, the human and the post-human. The human may be incapable of procreation with the post-human, and this will be seen as having a much lower moral standing. If we no longer have a common humanity, what rights will be enjoyed by transhumanists?
You can have more than one girl and change it to a boy. I don't want to deal with two of them. Oh, yeah.
On the same note, critics may argue that transhumanism will increase the gap between the rich and the poor. The rich can afford to be a part of the transhumanist movement, but the poor will not be able to. In the opposing viewpoint, critics may say that transhumanism is irrelevant, as very few will be able to use the technological developments, even if they become a reality. A further possibility is that transhumanism could lead to the extinction of humans and posthumans, where things are just as likely to turn out for the worse than the better. One of the deeper objections comes from a very traditional viewpoint. Like utopian visions, transhumanism relies on some conception of good. So just as humanism is founded on the idea that humans are the measure of all things, transhumanism has a vision of the good. For one group of transhumanists, the good is the expansion of personal choice. Given the autonomy is so widely valued, why not remove the barriers to enhance autonomy by various technological improvements?
Yes.
You would.
Yeah. Yep.
Why?
All the
I don't
ginger
want my kids
cookies.
mad. Like, that's weird. Like, that'd be weird.
Transhumanism see it as a threat to morality itself. This is because they see morality as connected to the kind of vulnerability that accompanies human nature. Think of the idea of human rights and the power this has. A transhumanist may be thought to be beyond humanity. Why would a transhuman be moved by appeals to a human solidarity? Once a prospect of posthumanism emerges, the whole of morality is threatened because the existence of human nature itself is under threat. Does transhumanism not change our bodies and the way we think? How can we know for sure that transhumanism will be successful? How do we know that it will not bring about danger to society? Does changing this part of us bring us further from God? Are we not supposed to respect the bodies that God gave us? Will the cost of transhumanism bring a bigger gap between the rich and the poor? Will this bring about a new type of human that we won't be compatible with?
No, because
Our children are unique, the way that they come.
yeah, exactly. I think it's weird if you're like trying to change how your children are. I think it's weird.
Church's point of view on transhumanists with quotes from Catechism. Transhumanism is not a large issue in the Catholic Church right now, but it is quickly becoming one. For Catholics, escaping suffering and trials by escaping human nature itself is morally unacceptable, according to Father Toto Deuce Vachaljic, PhD, Director of Education for the National Catholic Bioethics Center. Only by accepting ourselves, we as humans can reorient ourselves to the only authentic source of redemption compatible with Jesus' essence. Catholics think that we as humans need to experience and embrace our own human nature without trying to alter it. Transhumanism is seen as good if it is being used for the right things like preventing life-threatening issues. Transhumanism is seen as morally bad when it is being used to alter things that God gave us for a reason, like sex, eye color, hair color, etc. When it comes to improving our life, what is morally acceptable? Things that are remedial for disease or health conditions are morally acceptable. We can use technology to make our lives more human, said Father Edward Richard, a moral theologian and pastor of Our Lady of Prompt Succor in Sulphur, Louisiana. We don't want to serve technology, we want it to serve us. When we enter the realm of eugenics or trying to supplant or ignore God's providential plan for humanity, we have clearly exceeded the limits of what is morally acceptable. Catechism 2293. Basic scientific research as well as applied research is a significant expression of man's dominion over creation. Science and technology are precious resources when placed at the service of man and promote its integral development for the benefit of all. By themselves, however, they cannot disclose the meaning of existence and of human progress. Science and technology are ordered to man from whom they take their origin and development. Hence, they find in the person and in his moral values both evidence of their purpose and awareness of their limits. 159. Faith and Science. Though faith is above reason, there can never be any real discrepancy between faith and reason. Since the same God who reveals mysteries and infuses faith has bestowed the light of reason on the human mind, God cannot deny himself, nor can truth ever contradict truth. Consequently, methodical research in all branches of knowledge, provided it is carried out in a truly scientific manner and does not override moral laws, can never conflict with the faith. Because the things of the world and the things of faith derive from the same God, the humble and persevering investigator of the secrets of nature is being led, as it were, by the hand of God in spite of himself. For it is God, the conserver of all things, who made them what they are.